I was gonna do a top 10 list, but I don't have enough favorite vampire movies to do a complete top 10. So instead, I offer a simple list of my favorite vampire movies. Nosferatu. By today's standards, this movie may come off as being a little corny and ridiculous, but if I had a problem with watching movies that were corny and ridiculous, I wouldn't have been able to sit through the first Twilight film. The acting is awkward and often very melodramatic, but that was the case for nearly every movie made during the silent era. In spite of its drawbacks, I really love Nosferatu. It's obvious that everyone involved really put some effort into their performances. This is especially true of Max Schreck, who played the vampire Count Orlok. Man, this guy is creepy. Every scene he's in is almost unbearable to watch. Now, you could argue that that's only because of his hokey acting, but frankly, I believe it's because he played the part just a bit too well. Just look at the way he stares at the other characters in the film. He looks like a mentally deranged wild animal. Still don't think he's scary? Well, consider this. If you were to bump into this guy on a dark street corner and he looked at you like that, could you honestly say that you wouldn't be creeped out by him? If you said no, you're full of it. Bram Stoker's Dracula. Of all the Dracula movies out there, I think this one is probably the best. It's probably the most faithful to the original novel, which is one of my favorite books of all time. Also, unlike most movies featuring the Lord of the Undead, which usually depict the Count as pure evil, Bram Stoker's Dracula shows him as a more sympathetic character. Better still, the movie balances the Count's human emotions with his darker nature, thus making him a sympathetic character without turning him into a complete pansy. Dracula. What vampire movie list would be complete without mentioning the universal black and white classic starring Bela Lugosi as the blood-sucking Count? The main reason I included it on the list is because though this movie wasn't the first vampire movie in existence, it was the only one that really established the rules of vampire lore in modern-day culture. Thanks to Universal, everybody knows that vampires have no reflections, change into bats and wolves, can hypnotize their victims into doing their bidding, and are basically some of the most hardcore monsters in history. At least they were until Stephanie Meyer came along and took a big smelly crap on everything that everybody knew and loved about vampires. Okay, that's the very last Twilight rant. The very last one, I swear. The Last Man on Earth. I'm ashamed to admit that I can't offer much of an opinion on this film because I haven't seen it in a while and I don't remember too much about it. Basically, it's just like a typical post-apocalyptic zombie movie, except instead of zombies, the world is being overrun by vampires. There are two big reasons this movie got included on the list. Number one, Vincent Price as Logan. Enough said. I love Vincent Price. Even when he's playing the role of an average guy, as he does in this movie, instead of a homicidal maniac, he's always interesting to watch. Reason number two, I like how this movie treats the vampire mythology as something scientifically and medically possible. The very thought of the existence of real vampires is just plain disturbing. Also, if it's a possibility for vampires to exist, then what other kinds of creatures would be lurking out there waiting to prey on humankind?